right.
Man, I gotta say, we got the best music.
Y'all better not be on that BS today. Nah, we cutting right to it. Y'all better not be on that BS today. I better not hear no foolishness. I better not hear no foolish takes today. I'm telling you, I am ready to pew pew pew. Come on.
Now listen,
Is this episode 11?
This is episode 11.
Oh snap! What are we talking about today? Oh, you timed this just right, boy. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is the Cowboys Collective, episode 11. AOC, Law Nation, and as always, the man in behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And he actually just gave us some heat just now, Mr. John Machota. John.
It ain't no heat. Y'all about to do too much. I already feel it coming.
Come on,
I can feel it coming, bro.
Yeah.
Ho. What? Now, let me ask you this before you say that, AOC. Why you feel like it's too much? He just
go ahead. I want to hear what y'all got to say. Nope.
All he did was interview Dak Prescott.
Right, and it was a great interview. It was a great interview, John. Excellent job getting all the footage. Everything Dak said was great. Chat.
Talk to me, John. What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, no, it's just this is the first time Dak's talked in a little bit, and so because of that, there's just a lot there. I mean, one, what's going on with the hamstring? Obviously, he had season-ending hamstring injury. He talked to, so he was at the Brian Schottenheimer press conference, but he didn't talk to like the group. He went after he left. I think he talked to Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. So that's the first time he had talked about the Schottenheimer hire. But today was the first time he had talked to a group about it, answered several different questions about that. And then let's just be honest. I mean, you're the Cowboys quarterback, and the Philadelphia Eagles just won a Super Bowl by dominating. And so obviously,
I love what he said.
Obviously, he was gonna talk about that. It's interesting too the way he says the answer he gave is so perfect for talk debate, because part of you would sit there and laugh and be like, he said, quote, that they're very close, and you can just sit there and you can laugh at that and be like, you guys are not very close. You guys haven't even been to an NFC championship game in 29 years. Yeah. But then the other side of it, which makes it great for debate, is the fact that he is 9-4 as a quarterback against the Eagles. I think you got to go all the way back to 2011, which is the first year I started covering the team. This year is the first year that the Eagles have ever swept the Cowboys in a regular season series. Like the Cowboys have played the Eagles very, very well and have been very comparable. But you see how completely they dismantled the Chiefs. It's just easy for you to sit there and think like, well, these two teams are just miles apart. And you can make the argument both ways on that. You really can. One, obviously the Cowboys, tons of injuries this year. Eagles, they lost Nakobe Dean. Maybe somebody else I'm missing. Maybe Bradbury. Like, there's not a lot of loss. Yeah. That's a pretty healthy team. I mean, Eagles are very much opposite of what happened to the Niners, Cowboys, and Lions this year in terms of the injuries. So there's always that. And I can just tell you right now, maybe you watched that game and you thought, oh, they are just so much better than everybody else. Yeah, just take away Saquon Barkley. Just take away Jalen Hurts. Let's just see how different everything is when all of a sudden that happens. And now Jalen Hurts has to win the game. He doesn't have to just be the guy that just takes, what's here cooking. And so it was interesting hearing Dak say that he doesn't think that they are very far apart. With that being said, though, I think even Dak would tell you, he's not going to sit there and say this on the record, but the roster has to be upgraded too. They have to do things this offseason to put themselves in that position.
Well, let me shut my black ass up, because he said everything I was going to say. So,
wait, AOC, have people been giving you a hard time about what that?
Bro, there's a portion of people that have been losing their mind over this quote. Like he's like a company man. Like, they're using this quote as to like position Dak as a company man. Like, PR. He's a PR dream. This is exactly what the Joneses would want him to say. And like, he's saying something that would be detrimental to the Cowboys being more aggressive. That's how people are kind of positioning it, right? And it's like, okay, if you want to look at it through that extremist lens, but Dak is speaking from a place of, if I stick to reality, you can't really touch me too much. And if he's sticking to reality, I can do you one better. John brought up he's 9-4 against the Eagles. John, let me do you one even better, my brother. Not only is he 9-4 against the Eagles, but the last 4 games against the Commanders, because he said both teams in the NFC Championship. He didn't just say the Eagles. The last 4 games against the Commanders: 38-10 Cowboys, January 7th, 2024. November 23rd, 2023, 10:45, Cowboys. November 24th, 2024, 34-26, Cowboys. January 5th, 2025, 23-19, Cowboys. That is the very definition of we are close to both of those teams. Every one of those games, they either won or they were right there. Same thing with the Eagles. Last 2 games Dak played with the Eagles, they blew them out one game. The other game, they lost by 1 score. Like, why are people... I just don't understand, man. It's like, at this... And then if he says no comment, oh, he's running away from the media. And then if he says we need to get some more guys in, oh, you're getting paid $60 million. You should be able to do that yourself. Why are you asking for more help? You know, it's like, what do we do? What do we do?
But he won't say that about the more help. And that is interesting because when I watched that Super Bowl, one of the first things I thought about was how what that game showed me is if you're a fan of Dak or Jared Goff or Brock Purdy or whoever, that right there, that's the blueprint. Your quarterbacks can all win Super Bowls. Because I'll make this as simple as possible. Tell me the last time that you saw the Cowboys defense play the way they play to a level against a good team. Here's the key to this: against a good team, where Dak didn't have to win the game, where the defense it's like.
No, the San Francisco game, the playoffs. That is one game on Dak's record where it's looking like, okay, that was a game I felt like the playoff game against San Francisco, the game was close enough where the quarterback could have been the difference.
But then,
are you talking about 2021 or 2022?
Really both. We can look at both of them and make that argument.
22, yes. I feel the same way.
You can make that argument, right? But then if you peel the layers back and you're like, okay, what quarterbacks, if you put them in the same position where your running backs together give you 40 yards together,
I can bring up the box score, but refresh my memory. I don't remember anybody getting pick sixes.
Come on, man. That's what I'm getting at, John. Thank you.
Helping them out the way that Cooper DeJean and the crew, those four guys up front, not eating any blitzes or anything, are literally like, oh, Jalen, just throw a really bad interception. Fine, we'll just go and take care of this by ourselves. Don't even worry about that. Like, he made it so easy that the defense made it so easy where it was like, hey, just don't mess this thing up, man. We got it from here. We're not going to let them get anything on us.
100%.
I can't remember the last time a Cowboy.
That's what I mean by peel the layers back.
You can even go most of Romo's career.
Is my leaking?
Some static I get.
I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know where it's coming from.
I'm about to say, hold on. Yeah, my bad, y'all. My bad, chat. I heard it just then.
Okay.
We got
a little bad feedback, you know.
Hey, but no, let me do this real quick. This is a great conversation, and I can tell that AOC is
back.
Yeah, it's right back. AOC. There it is. Good.
There it is.
All right.
Yeah, whatever that was. Work.
Yeah, well, it is.
Yeah. Let me get to this super. Let me get to this super real quick. And then I want to go. They want us to make sure we hit supers and show them. So Justin D, I need a few weeks vacation. This season is warming me out. Justin D, we here for your support. We are here to make sure that you get through these times, Justin D. So we got you, bro. Much love to you. Okay.
I'm scared to move, y'all.
Okay.
Okay. So, Law, did you have anything on this conversation? Because I have thoughts, and I want to actually attack something that Attack said. But I want to get your thoughts first.
I get where all of the sentiments are at. I think that Dak Prescott was right on par with everything. I've seen Dak Prescott with pretty much the same defense because the Eagles still had Jordan Davis. I believe they still had some guys. They might not have Carter, but I've seen Dak Prescott in a situation whereas he still was able to put up 40 points with T.Y. Hilton. And some other guy named Noah Brown probably that was on that team. So, and he's coming off of an injury. So I get all of that. I know last year was a down year due to the fact of that injury, but you give Dak Prescott run game and as well as what John Machota said, defense, you winning games. And he alluded to that even when he was talking to the media today. So I love that aspect of it, that if you give Dak Prescott a little run game and defense, we can win games.
I'm going to say this. What Attack said about the Commanders, I want to double down. Bro, both games we played, the NFC get to Commanders, should have won. Dallas should have beat the Commanders the last game of the season. With Trey Lance and I think that they outplayed the Commanders and rookie phenom Jaden Daniels all game. versus in Washington. Now, obviously, they came back, made it a game, made it interesting. But Dallas has owned the Commanders. As far as Philly goes, the whole this was so telling to me. Just like I think Philly fans need Dak Prescott sometimes more than Cowboys fans. I could not believe how much Dak was getting mentioned throughout the Super Bowl, the tweets, and I get it. It's like, dang, like you got all these great quarterbacks, but it's like Dak is on your mind. That just lets you know how good Dak can be and how good he should be with what John is saying, the right help. It's so blatantly obvious how bad the Cowboys botched the running back position. And I know there are people out there who went to war for Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
I'm sorry. That was botched. Capital B. It was awful. Like that Will needs to eat that. Pro personnel needs to eat that. Zeke cannot play anymore. And that's not fair to Dak. Then, okay, we go, you don't know what you want to do with Rico. You don't know what you want to do with Deuce Vaughn. Cool. Whoever you brought in, all these running backs. Whereas Philly said, you know what? That guy can run us to a Super Bowl. There were times this year where Jalen Hurts could not throw a 5 and out, but we can hand the ball to Saquon Barkley and he could take it 70 yards. That takes a lot of pressure off of you. Not to mention that you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Right.
Dallas is 100% close. They have to fix the team. It's a team game. If nothing else, we learned this Super Bowl is a team game. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the best quarterback did not win. Nobody in their right mind thinks Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback, even than
Pat Mahomes. And then it goes to show you that with proper planning, that Vic Fangio's defense, it reminded me of that Broncos game in 2021, whereas they put out the blueprint. Anytime that you can put pressure on someone with 4 and you drop 7 into coverage and you can stop the run and all Mahomes had to do was throw the ball, he couldn't run it. It makes it difficult. And that goes to show you that those pick sixes and all of those things is very much so tangible. Those are things that we never had the luxury of when we went to the postseason. But so many people will look at it like this too, Foots and Attack and John. Well, Saquon Barkley didn't eat a lot. He only had 60 yards. Well, excuse me. When you load in the box and it's one-on-one to the outside, that's all part of the game. Your one-on-ones, your ability to win on the outside, and they were able to slow Saquon Barkley down, and they turned that thing into, okay, we're going to throw it to AJ or we're going to throw it to the open receiver and we're going to score points. And it was good.
No defensive coordinator is playing that team going, we need to stop. Don't let Jalen Hurts beat us. Let Barkley do whatever he wants. We cannot let Jalen Hurts beat us. Nobody is saying that.
Yeah.
Nobody is saying that.
Yeah,
honestly, I thought the best thing he did was the 70 yards he had on the ground. That's part of the game that Dak doesn't have anymore. But again, if you put him with a legit number 2 receiver and it doesn't even have to be a 1,000-yard, 2,000-yard back, but like a legit run game, it's a way different thing. And then obviously, I think the Eagles had the best offensive line in football this year. So I mean,
they did
all of that, and then by the way, Dallas Goedert, like you're in a great position to where even if forget the execution, just in your mind. You are just so at ease that you're just like, I have so many answers to the test, where obviously Kansas City didn't. And you could tell it in just Patrick Mahomes' feet that the answers to the test weren't there, because let's be honest, their playmakers have been getting lesser and lesser as the years have gone on. They're just like, oh, Pat'll do this. Put anybody up. Juju Smith-Schuster, fine. Pat'll get it done. Isaiah Pacheco, good enough.
Yo, John, I think this says more about the trends in the league and where they're actually about to go. John, they try to put a pumpkin at running back. I mean, like Isaiah Pacheco, he's a 7th-round pick for a reason. He's a good player. I'm not going to act like he's not. But then they had who's the other guy?
Kareem.
Hunt's a pumpkin at this point in his career. So you put him back there. Okay, so you're shotgun running the ball. You're letting these D linemen just fly upfield. You have no real threat. Kelsey's gotten older. He's aged, and you were able to get past the Bills in inclement weather. You were able to, but now it's a fast track. All of these guys got eyes on you. Great defense. They just had your number. And that like you said, Patrick Mahomes can't make a young receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster and a washed-up DeAndre Hopkins look like they're great. And if he can't do it, why would Dak be able to do it? Why would we expect Dak to do it? And listen, I'm hard on Dak, but at the end of the day, if you give him Brandon Cooks, I love Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks doesn't scare anybody. He does. I love Brandon Cooks. He can get past you every now and again, but does he scare you? Like you said, John, do you go into does somebody go in the defensive meeting room, AOC, and say, you know what? We got to stop Brandon Cooks and Rico down.
No, he ain't got to finish. No.
They circle CeeDee Lamb, and they say, you stop 88, they're good.
You're good. You're good.
To give Dak what Jalen Hurts had this year, you would have to give him, for the comp, an absolutely healthy in his prime Tyron Smith, absolutely in his prime healthy Zach Martin, and then, on top of that, probably Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Jacobs. I wonder what Dak would have done with that. Jeez, I wonder what he would have done. One more games. That would have been wow. That would have been interesting. Can you imagine Amon-Ra St. Brown being the number 2 receiver to CeeDee Lamb with Josh Jacobs?
And we talking about the offense, and the defense is really what won the Philadelphia that game.
Oh,
like that defensive line completely. Like, it completely took over the entire Super Bowl. It made the Super Bowl a snooze fest because they had the offensive lineman in Patrick Mahomes' lap. And then even when they wasn't in his lap, he was seeing ghosts. Patrick Mahomes started seeing ghosts. Right. He started running when he didn't need to run it. When he did run, he was running right into the teeth of the defense where defenders was just waiting. They holding their gaps, and then they waiting to shed the blocker and make the sack, bro. That's all they were doing, bro. And he started seeing ghosts because any quarterback, when you don't have outlets and you don't have that sense of security in the pocket, any quarterback is going to look how we've seen Dak look in certain situations and how people criticize Dak to no end. Now, again, he has his he has to stop turning the ball over in the playoffs. Yeah. He has to. That's one thing Jalen Hurts did do, and he has shown. And Joe Flacco and other pumpkins like Jalen Dilfer, spark plug Hurts, and I call him spark plug Hurts because he's just like a spark plug in your car, cheap and easy to replace. All you gotta do is replace it, and it's just for a fancy vehicle. The fancy vehicle be sit there and built like Philadelphia's a fancy truck. Just sit there and built. Jalen Hurts is a spark plug that you need to replace so you can get your cigarette lighter to work. That's all he is a cigarette lighter, bro. I'm not about to play with y'all, bro. Jalen Hurts is Jalen Dilfer. He's replaceable. The Eagles did the same thing with Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. So I don't want to hear nothing about no Kellen Moore either. And I don't want to hear nothing about no Jalen Hurts with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz who ain't even got no job now. I don't want to hear nothing about none of that. It's the Philadelphia machine. Howie Roseman should have got co-MVP with Jalen Hurts' ass. Yeah. That's what should have happened.
No doubt about it.
You look at that interception he threw.
He still scraped the receiver.
Panicked. He
still scraped the car, huh? He still rubbed against the wall.
That spark plug flickered. It was like, hold on, do I got my receipt still? That plug flickered.
Go ahead.
To your point, AOC, though, man, like that is, you bring up Foles, the Frank Reich stuff and all that, man. Like that seems like that was so long ago, and that's still in the Dak window, man. That's 2017. And the fact that they even paid Wentz and they made mistakes and they still, would they have one bad year since then?
Come on, man.
Super Bowls. The way that he's turned that roster around and the whole, like, just shoots a hole in the hole. Anybody thinking that, oh, I know, but if you go through this, you're going to have salary cap hell and you're going to be in, I don't know what your hell is. It seems like it's going pretty great over here. Like, the way you turn it around like that is, it's nuts. But also, I wanted also on something else AOC said when he talked about that defensive line, man, it also speaks to, man, the thing that's been missing in Dallas for so long is that game-changing defensive tackle. If you can
fix it.
You can put that DT with whether it be DeMarcus Ware or all the way up to like through Lawrence's career or next to Micah now. That's why it's like running back to me is such a big need. But, man, the number one need to me will always be D tackle because they're such a game changer, especially in those big games. I mean, even it's not like Jalen Carter. If you just looked at the stats, be like, oh, he just wrecked this game, but he commands so much and he wrecks so much stuff that it opens stuff up for so many other people. And hey, just to be honest, that's probably the hardest position to find because they're not growing on trees. You know?
And I know how to fix it. Let me throw something out. This is a perfect segue.
How do you fix it?
This is the perfect segue. Would y'all do it? I'm about to just throw something out there and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna throw it out there and I'm gonna leave. What if Cleveland call you and be like, hey, Jerry, Myles Garrett in our second overall pick and a third for Micah.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
Let's think about this. Myles Garrett, a second and a third. So you would keep your first.
You would have a second in the draft and a 12th. You would keep your first.
You would keep your first. You get a second And a third?
No, you get they first, Cleveland first overall pick, Myles Garrett, and then you either get a second or third depending on what the compensation might be.
If
I
they
don't
did
think they'll
that,
give up all that.
yeah, I was about to say if they gave me that, I would do that.
Myles Garrett told them he gone regardless, though. Remember, desperate man comes times. If you know a guy's leaving, if you know a guy is leaving, and I'm team keep Micah, I'm just throwing this out there because somebody floated this to me, and I was like, ooh. If you know a guy's leaving, and everybody else in the league know a guy's leaving, and you can get Micah Parsons on his way out the door.
Well, let's do this.
I can entertain it if all of that was real. If they're getting all those picks, I just don't see that.
It's 2 picks in Myles Garrett. It's just 2 picks in Myles Garrett.
Man.
We don't have that fourth either, John, and we draft well.
Let's say let's say it's their first and their fourth plus Myles Garrett for Micah Parsons.
If they're giving up their first, I'm interested.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
because you can draft them to do a Carter.
What number they got?
You could draft Mason Graham.
You can draft Mason Graham.
What number they
got?
got?
They got number 2.
It's crazy.
Do they really? Wow.
They got number 2.
There's no way they're giving that up.
Look, Joe, like, hold on.
Yeah.
It makes you look for fun purposes. I like what ALC, because what ALC is basically saying, and like, okay, let's say you're the Cowboys. What you could do is this, John. If they gave you 2, and they love Micah, because Micah is worth that. Like I think. So
he's worth the first.
And he's younger, and he's on par to be the type of player that Myles Garrett has been. So this is what you do. You get that second, and you move back. Whoever wants to come get their quarterback. Let's say it's the Jets, John. And you can move back to 7 and then get another first and next. That's the stupid stuff that that's what has built Philly's team. All of those trades, I know the Wentz trade, dude, I saw what they got for the Wentz trade. I'm like, dang, they parlayed that. So it is actually not, if you could get the second, John, and Myles, because now you're moving back to 7 with the Jets. The Jets come up, get their quarterback, Shador, Cam. Now you can still get a grade A player, plus another pick. So now you got extra picks.
Your defensive line is fixed. Just right there. It's fixed. You got Myles, and you add either Abdul or Mason Graham to that. Your D line is fixed, bruh. It's fixed.
You saying swap trade.
And then you still got your 12th. Then you still got your 12th overall.
Wait. So you said the Browns got the what pick?
They got the number 2 overall.
So they gonna give us number 2 for Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And Myles Garrett.
On the way out the door, Myles told him he leaving. Myles told him he leaving.
They ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, this sounds like draft day.
What if you give them a second and they give you their 4th? I think they'll do that. If you give Micah in a second for Myles and their first, and plus a 4th, I think they would do that.
Hey, you think Luka's pissed off about Mavs trading him? If Micah got sent to Cleveland, holy.
And what I said, Micah was the one, doing the tomahawk thinking that shit funny. Yeah, I was going to bring it up. He the one doing the tomahawk thinking that's funny. Talking about if I don't have a ring by 30, I'm about to go chase a ring. Doing the tomahawk. That's funny. Hey.
What did he do?
Yeah, on the edge. Was thinking he was funny. Was like, hey man, if I don't have a ring by the time I'm 30, man, I'm gonna have to. And he talking to Chiefs fans in the crowd doing the tomahawk, and they was like, yeah.
All right. You want to talk about that then? I'll throw this one out there that I've always thought about. I've always thought in the back of my mind there's a chance Patrick Mahomes finishes his career with the Cowboys.
Ooh. How would that happen?
Oh,
how would that happen?
It would have to get to a point where it's like one of those things where
I'm interested.
Where Kansas City, let's be honest. You just look at if every quarterback, like everybody that you think has been a beast, how many of them ever finish with their team that they're with? If the team can move
franchise
on,
quarterbacks for the Cowboys, franchise quarterbacks for the Cowboys.
John Elway, yeah.
If the Patriots can move on from Tom Brady, it just gets to a point where everybody's like, well, heck, what was it, like 10 years between Patriots Super Bowls and stuff like that? I
feel like Bill Belichick pulled a Nico Harrison with that one, though. That's why Robert Kraft fired his ass after that. That was an ego play from Bill Belichick.
Hey, who's to say that Kansas City doesn't have a person like that? But I'm just saying, I just really think that, he's a guy who grew up as a Cowboys fan. He obviously, lives in the area in the offseason and things like that. And there's also the part with me where he's been dinged by a lot of people in the last 48 hours about the whole, like, well, the three-peat would have been the thing that kept you to put into you past Brady and stuff like that. Well, you can't get that now. Are you ever going to catch Brady? And it's like, if that Cowboys Super Bowl drought goes long enough, I could see him being like the guy, like, no, let me go end that drought. I'll show you how great I am. Like,
Mahomes,
and I think he would know how much that would mean too. But it would obviously take the Chiefs one to move on from him. But I've always had in the back of my mind, just because of the fact that, yeah, you said John Elway. That's a long time ago. All these quarterbacks, Dak said it himself when he was going through last offseason about his contract. He's like, all the guys that I've followed, that I've looked up to, they've always finished their, careers with a different team. From
and being honest, he's probably going to.
Peyton Manning, all of them.
Being completely honest, Dak is probably going to as well. Like he has.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't see the Cowboys re-signing Dak if they don't win the championship within this contract. You see what I'm saying? So, and I don't also see Dak wanting to retire at 34, 35 years old. So
he takes care of himself well, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So he's going to want to play maybe another season. He's going to pull a Kirk Cousins, want to play a couple more seasons,
Russell
see if
Wilson.
he can get it done. Yeah, and he's probably going to end up somewhere else for the last season or two of his career if he doesn't just retire and do what Tony Romo did and be like, hey, screw it, I'm cool with just being a Cowboy lifer. I'm just going to retire. It is what it is. Like,
yeah, got a huge salary coming from a TV deal that's already in place. Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's talk. I want to talk about that Micah story, John. You're in the building, and that was actually a great segment, AOC. Because let me tell you this: people can say what they want. I think that it has been discussed because you have to. You discuss everything. I mean, you're always trying to make your team better. I think they're going to be active in free agency, and I think they're going to. I don't think that Micah's going to get traded, but I wanted to ask you, John, what are you hearing about that Ian Rappaport? Because I thought it was a clickbait article. There was really no substance to it, but that's when you use the Cowboys for that. So, what did you think about that?
That's the way I thought of it. Well, especially because it's right around the Super Bowl. I just don't believe that'll happen. I mean, that's been a big storyline here for the last week is with the Luka trade is that Jerry would never do that. And Jerry just doesn't do things like that. He just doesn't trade superstars like that. If you told me that, Jerry had passed 5 years ago and that this has been Steven running the team, yeah, maybe that's a possibility. But I just don't see Jerry moving on from superstars and especially superstars that he really likes. It's not like Micah and Jerry have ever butted heads. And I always bring it back to that because at the end of the day, that's all it is. It's just Jerry. He's the one that makes the decision. It's not, much like the Nico Harrison thing. Yeah, you had to check it with ownership. Jerry doesn't even have to do that. Jerry is the owner. So just because he's the one that owns the team, I just don't see him ever doing that. Unless, to AOC's point, I guess,
How close are they? How close are they, though, John? I want to get into that because I thought something was very interesting that I don't think has been talked about enough, and Micah kind of said it during Super Bowl week, and I don't think anybody really picked up on it, was the fact that he said that he never really has had a one-on-one with Shotty. He doesn't really know Shotty like that. So if you're a GM, if you're someone running a franchise and you have a blue chip franchise player like a Micah Parsons is, Micah's no doubt a franchise player type of guy, caliber guy. You're not taking him into consideration at all when you're choosing the next head coach for the next 5 years. When you got a guy for 5 years, you're not taking him into consideration at all. So how close are you? You see what I'm saying? It's just interesting stuff there to where if you would look at that player and hold him in that high of regard, where you're like, I'm building my franchise around this guy, to me, you would hire someone that would bring the best out of that particular aspect of your team. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say on that is that I could see, well, I agree, Micah I think he's their best player.
Right.
But you have way more money. Even after his contract, you have way more money invested in Dak and CD.
Good point.
And so your pick is going to be about what maximizes them. Also, there's probably a big part of Jerry where he's like, I've heard Micah say he's thrown Mike McCarthy under the bus, Dan Quinn, Mike Zimmer. Like, it's just like that. Just Micah just likes to talk, and so that the thing is though. But when on Sundays and the game starts, he's out there playing, and that's what Jerry ultimately cares about. And so as long as he's playing at a high level on Sundays, I just don't see him being willing to move away from him. But if they didn't have Dak and CD on offense and it was a defensive built team, I agree with you. I think that would be kind of alarming that they wouldn't check with him.
Okay.
Oh, I want to just say this, Law. We got to get John Machota monetized. ESPN just picked up John's video. They just tweeted it from their page on Instagram. My buddies actually sent it to me in a group chat, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking to John right now. I don't like them stealing my man's stuff.
They better have at least tagged me in this thing.
They did, John. It's actually crazy, but I think it's actually on there. But anyway, no. So yeah, they did, but
yeah,
that's.
Which part? The very close part, right? It's the very close part, right?
Us. Yep. This the very.
They're sensationalizing it. I told y'all.
That very close thing is about to go bananas.
I told you.
You did, AOC. You're right. We started this with that. And my thing is, hey, ESPN, come get us. If you want to talk real Cowboys, come get Law, come get AOC, come get John. Don't get Marcus Spears. He don't know about this team like us.
No, real talk.
I'll box with Marcus Spears. He don't know what's going on.
I got back though.
Let's go. Come on, AOC.
Hey.
You ain't ducking no smoke. Nah, but anyway. No, so this is what I will say. I do man, when you talk about Micah, I think that the front office hears Micah, and I think they hear Dak. This is just me personally. I think what people are going to take the very close things. I want to talk about the other things that Dak said in the interview. Yeah. I thought it was very detailed. What Dak is in, and it wasn't company Dak. I don't feel like Dak can be very company. John Law, he can be very, hey, we gotta do this. One thing that he said to me, John, that I loved. Hey, Shotty didn't just hire a receiver coach that he knew for a while. He didn't just hire an O-line coach. He went out and got guys.
Right.
What do you guys say to that? That Dak said that? Because that tells me, hey, Mike McCarthy may have just hired his buddies.
It shows, man. I think that Shotty, he went and got guys that we know for sure they got something out of the fire. Derek Foster, the Clayton Adams guy, the whole list, Connor Riley, being able to find those guys that really pretty much you can say got it out of the fire or got it out of the mud. And I'm not pointing any fingers at Jeff Blasco's or Scott McCurley's and Tozines and the worlds. But what I'm saying is that I think that this staff here on paper is a whole lot better than what we seen last season.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the best hire to me is getting Mike Solari out the building. I just the offense.
Here's why it's better though.
I hate to say that, John. Go ahead.
Why is it better? Why is it better? That's a very important question to answer. It's better because when you looked at Mike McCarthy's staff, what was the goal? What was the purpose? What was the direction of the staff? What was the intent of the staff? What was their primary focus as far as their schematically, what they wanted to do, how they wanted to build this team, what imprint they wanted to make? When you're looking at Brian Schottenheimer's staff, it's very clear where everyone's pedigree lies. It's very clear the talents that they share a common thread with. All of them are great developers of players. All of them are younger guys, kind of innovative minds. All of them have resumes where they've worked with guys that they can really show have a track record of being able to have an efficient run game, of being able to have offensive linemen that are good. Connor Riley, Clayton Adams, Derek Foster from the Saints, being able to get the most out of your running backs, giving Alvin Kamara that most productive rushing year of his career in his most recent year, his oldest year. So all these guys have a clear direction. It's going to be ground and pound. It's going to be pin and pulls. It's going to be moving your offensive line around. It's going to be instilling that play action. It's going to be a hard-nosed brand of football, and all the coaches indicate that. That's why it's exciting for me. It's not just the different names, and I'm looking at these guys that have good resumes. It's like it's cohesive. They have a goal. It's clear the direction of the staff. Now, if it works or not, who knows? But you know exactly what this staff is built to do. Mike Solari and all these other guys, it was just like a collection of guys. It was a collection of buddies, right? Yeah. So that's my biggest thing with this staff, particularly what Brian Schottenheimer did.
Yeah, my thing would just be that the way stuff had been going is it just was getting stale. And it just seems like with some of these younger guys, maybe they'll be more apt to do something where, it's, hey, we saw this 2 Saturdays ago in a college game. Let's try and run that play with CD or whatever, where I just felt like you had a more veteran staff in the past where it was kind of like, no, we've done it this way. We've won a Super Bowl in Green Bay doing it this way. This is the way that we're going to do it. Whereas these guys might be more open to doing some different things and stuff. And hey, maybe it leads to worse results. I don't know, but it is intriguing because it does seem like it'll be more, I don't know, up to date, I guess you could say. But to me, the whole coaching staff thing, all of it is projecting because we really don't know for sure.
Exactly.
To me, the biggest takeaway of all, if we rewind back to just 3-4 weeks ago, the biggest takeaway is that Jason Witten isn't on the staff. Because most people would have
that's
said,
a bomb, John.
most of the people would have said that Jason will be on this staff. They're hiring Brian Schottenheimer, so Jason Witten will be on this staff. And that didn't happen. And so to me, that's been my biggest takeaway of how they've built this staff.
Hey, one of the things that I'm waiting to see.
Go ahead,
I'm going to say just one of the things I'm waiting to see. Yeah, I see the staff is assembled. I just need to see whether or not these boys are going to do anything in free agency. So that's why I'm sitting here looking. When they start doing that, when they start moving money around, we're going to see it a mile away before it comes because they're going to have to move some money around. And then I'm going to be watching to see whether or not they're going to move anywhere in free agency.
Well, I want to say something on your coaching staff point. Unless you know that they're serious about football. Jason Witten was a high school coach. He's not ready to coach. And that's not. I'm pretty sure he can come out, hold a bag, all that type of stuff. But to think that Jason Witten, it's just like the Deion thing. I don't care what Deion told Jerry when they're walking through the celebrity line. Deion Sanders, I love Deion. You know, I think that he could motivate and do that type of stuff, and we debated it on here. But was Deion Sanders really ready to coach and be an NFL head coach? I mean, who knows, right? I know Jason Witten isn't for sure. And I don't care how long he played. I know he wasn't. People got to remember, Dan Campbell was on a few staffs before he took over. I know wasn't he with Dallas, John? I want to.
No, Miami. He was Miami, New Orleans, and
New Orleans. Yeah.
Okay,
so it's a long time. It's probably a good 9-10 years of.
That's exactly, bro. Like, and so we talk about Schottenheimer. I think that. Oh, and I want to ask you, John, what did you take away from what Troy said about Schottenheimer? Did you get that, or because I did see some floating around about Troy who had some nice high remarks about Brian Schottenheimer.
Yeah, he did, but I will say just Troy altogether over, I would say, the last probably month, I've just sensed a guy that he knows how big his voice is, and he's not going to say anything that's going to be undermining of Brian Schottenheimer because that's the last thing he wants to do. At the end of the day, I mean, I'll just bring it back to the reason we were there. It's a children's cancer fund thing. I mean, at the end of the day, Dak and Troy, I mean, they're good people. You know, take the football and all that away. Troy knows how his voice carries. If he goes and goes, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd be going with Brian Schottenheimer. That seems like a big risk. He knows that that's a headline everywhere, and I don't think he wants to do anything like that. And really, to be honest with you, the last 5 years, he never did that with McCarthy either. He always defended and said, hey, I've been around Mike. He won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, blah, blah, blah. When Troy takes his shots, it's generally at Jerry. And he didn't do that today. But I'm just, this is my opinion off of hearing him talk the last, few weeks. I don't think he wants to do anything that takes a shot at Schottenheimer before he even gets a chance to go out there and show what he can do as a head coach.
All right. Yeah. So, all right, moving forward, guys, I think that we could put a bow on that. I think we could put a bow on the staff. Obviously, I don't know if you guys probably touched on it a little bit, but they hired the K-State offensive coordinator, Connor Riley, to come in and actually coach the offensive line. So now we do have an O-line coach. My biggest thing, I did take a shot at Mike Solari. I think he's a great guy, but I don't think that this O-line got better. And I'll even say, too, Law, I love Duke Manyweather and all that, but I do want, our guys with our coach doing what we're going to be doing. Because the problem with trainers, and this may get clipped up and sent, my thing with trainers is this. Trainers push you to just to the max, just enough to get your money. I feel like coaches push you to where it needs to be done the right way. You're gonna play and get in our scheme the right way. So remember, everybody, Duke, and that's well and good. But a lot of these O linemen took a step back. Terrence Steele took a step back. Guyton was hot and looked decent in preseason, but it just looked like he didn't even have a clue at times. And I love Tyler Guyton. And then obviously Zach Martin had his worst year ever. So,
you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen, and that's why probably what happened. I think Duke does a wonderful job of teaching technique, but when you're talking about principles and concepts, some may have difference. And I heard stories as well as even on the defensive side. We got a lot of defensive coaches here in this area. A lot of good guys out here, and I ain't gonna name drop, but I'm gonna say that he said that he had to untrain what Aiden Durde was teaching because it was a different and a poor technique. And believe it or not, the trainer, he gets people like the Jalen Carters and and Jordan Davis. They fly into Dallas just to work with him. So I know it's tangible information. But I look at this with everything wholeheartedly with this coaching staff, as far as the offensive line. I had someone that's very close to the star that said, man, these offensive linemen, they don't go out to eat together. They don't go out and have offensive lineman day. And it would be nice if they restart that tradition back, because that's down in the trenches. And that's one of the things that they're going to try to implement now since they got Connor Riley. So
that's the most connective unit.
Yeah.
That's the most connective unit,
I
man.
can't wait to see that.
You have to do that. And I think a perfect segue into, I want to feed off what something Law said, man. And like you said, we about to get off the coaching staff, y'all. I'm about to give y'all a big old heaping dose of Kool-Aid, because there are some numbers I want to throw out at y'all to where free agency in the Cowboys roster is going to have to look different. And we're going to 100% get our answer about what this team is going to do and where this team's focus is in free agency this year. The reason we're going to get that answer is because you have 17 unrestricted free agents, 2 restricted free agents, and 3 contracts who are voiding. And all of those guys are contributors. All of them. So you're going to get your answer one way or the other, because if they just start re-signing everybody and they're not going out and getting players that fit what these coaches want as far as the different traits and stuff, because you got a whole new staff of coaches. There's no way you can tell me that all these coaches like the players that they have. Because different coaches like certain types of certain builds, certain types, certain traits, certain strengths. They like that. So if the Cowboys don't take this opportunity where half of your roster is already going to be getting turned over naturally just from expiring contracts, and they just re-sign guys, then you already know what the jig is. Because they're going to have to, by virtue of the contracts, they're going to have to do something in free agency. They can't just sit still. They won't have a team to put out there.
I want to do a show on that. AOC, you just gave me a great idea. We're going to go down list by list of all our free agents. We'll save it.
I have it right here. I'm looking at it.
No, but I want to make it a whole show.
Yeah,
I want to make it a whole show just, because we do the dead season.
Yeah.
And just like really do deep dives on these players. Because I'm in agreement with you. Like, to me, I think that you be better served trying to fix your defense in free agency than you would your offense. That's me. I think that you could go out, get a Milton Williams, spend big there. You could spend big on a DJ Reed, and you could say, hey, can we get maybe a Zach Bond, maybe a Dre Greenlaw, maybe one of these linebackers in, and say, you know what? These are the right type of pros for what Eberflus wants to do in that 4-3 scheme. He wants to rat the middle of the field, all that type of stuff, and get guys who have been close to that versus trying to think you're going to draft everybody or mix and match your draft. This has to be an offensive draft, I feel. As much as I do like the D, you could sprinkle in the D lineman if you get in the third round. It's a deep D line, but you got to go get a receiver. You got to get a running back. You got to. No,
you're right on point. You're right on point because you're right on point because even the expiring contracts tell you that's how you need to approach this offseason. The contracts are mainly you're getting a lot of expiring defensive guys that are not like. It's a lot of defensive guys that are going to be guys that you need to replace with veterans, that you need to replace with experience in some type of degree. The offensive guys you're losing are guys that honestly, if you draft, they can probably have a better impact than the guys you had. A running back, Rico Dowdle, right? You can draft a running back that could probably have a better season their rookie year. Their rookie year, they can probably have a better season, right? Brandon Cooks, wide receiver, he's voiding. You can probably draft a receiver that's giving you better production than that in the draft. So
play.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think you're right on spot, bro. Draft is probably going to be for the offense because the offense, you can get guys that can have immediate impact in the draft this season, and the defense needs to be done in the free agency because that's going to give you the immediate impact because you're going to get veterans who are NFL-ready dudes. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no.
I hate to be negative here, but I got it.
Okay,
right.
okay, here we go.
Spicy John.
You say this, it does bring back some memories of 2020 with that new coaching staff when Mike McCarthy's took over. And remember all those Gerald McCoys and Don Terry Poes and Maurice Kennedys and Blake Bells and Daryl Worley.
All the worlds.
There were a lot of swings and misses. So, hey, maybe that was your bad offseason, but I just think people forget about that. That was.
Do we think Mike McCarthy was getting guys with a purpose though? Like we talked about with the coaching staff and it having a more clear direction. I think the way that they were acquiring players was kind of sporadic as well. It was like,
Clinton Dix was awful. I remember.
Come on, man. I think the way that Mike McCarthy and his staff scouted guys they needed was sporadic. I don't think that he did homework on those guys either. Just like he didn't do homework on his coaches he hired.
Clinton. I remember that. You know, John, is crazy. You got a good memory. I remember when he brought in Clinton Dix, and my memory serves me right, he actually wasn't coming from the Packers. He was coming from the Bears.
Yeah.
But he had him. Mike had him at the Packers, and so that was a complete waffle because anybody who had watched him, he was a sideline safety, and by the time he was done with the Bears, he was awful. He couldn't come off the hash, so he couldn't play. And then Gerald McCoy got hurt, but I do get the premise as far as
he just came in because he wanted to get bigger in the middle. That's why they went and got Don Terry Poe because they looked at the defense Rob Marinelli had and was like, man, these guys are too small. You know, like the Antoine Woods and some of those guys, and Nick Hayden and stuff like that. That he was like, well, we got to get bigger in the middle. So I remember they went after Poe and somebody else, and it just obviously that 2020 season was a disaster. But obviously 2020 they also didn't have Micah Parsons on defense, so that things. But that is the only part of if you are going one whole side of the ball in free agency that. Just you got to make sure that at least hit on some of the guys.
Well, they had Jim Tom Sula. I'm looking at the coaching staff now. Tom Sula.
You know what's crazy
I'll say
about
this though, man. Hey, for all the hate that Mike Nolan got, deservedly so. I mean, it was awful. Man, in the offseason, like leading up to it, man, when he would talk about what the defense needs to look like, man, he was spot on, man. Because you got to remember where it was coming from at that time. And then where it was going to and what it needed to
Marinelli's team.
Oh yeah, it had to be updated big time. And again, he didn't have Micah Parsons, and that was a big change in it. But it was interesting because they became a defense, the Cowboys under McCarthy, where they would take the ball away, and they had some really good years with Dan Quinn, but they had no success at stopping the run. Whereas like Marinelli's defenses, they were great at stopping the run. I think one year they led the league. But they couldn't take the ball away, They
couldn't turn around, take
play
the ball
so
away.
soft. So this is what I would say to that, John. I think there's so much information now about these guys, and we'll get to the super chats at the end. We see every super chat, guys. Thank you so much. I think there's so much information about these guys. Your pro personnel would have to be awful, and I think that Will and them needs to have a good offseason. Will McClay.
Yeah.
He needs to have an A+ offseason. As far as AOC just laid it out, the defensive side of the ball is where all your free agents are. So I would be like, if you're not bringing Osa back, which I've been doing a lot of research on, like how Eberflus wants to play defense. He still wants a bigger guy in the middle of that defense.
Right.
It's not. I remember Dan Quinn's everything just get upfield. No, he wants one guy getting upfield. And then he does want a nice, solid one tech who has pass rush ability, but he doesn't just want those guys getting upfield. So where does that leave Osa, Mozzie, and the rest of the D tackles on this team? I don't think that you're gonna, if you can't get Mason Graham, right? If he doesn't magically fall, and you don't like Milton Williams, whoever, you're not taking him at 12. That's not gonna happen. How are you gonna fix that? Because Osa may not even be the answer for Matt Eberflus may say, nah, go give me Milton Williams, or go give me this person, or go give me, and I would say, give him what he needs. Another thing is this. I don't think that you're going to find a corner anywhere in this class that can come in day one and help you get over. But I'm looking at a DJ Reed who played with the Jets, who our D-line coach had him, may stand on the table and say, listen, if Bland is going to be our one, because I don't think that is like, can we all just be honest? Diggs isn't playing next year. I don't think.
Right.
Diggs
No, he's not. He's not playing. I mean,
he's not.
No.
So if Diggs isn't playing next year, John, there's no way Dallas can say, "Hey, let's just run out Deron Bland and Kalen Carson."
Yeah. Troy Pride.
Barbecue chicken alert. Barbecue chicken alert.
I mean, like, what Kalen Carson showed me outside of Cleveland game, he ain't ready, dog.
Yeah.
He got, and I talked to
Jair Alexander.
Yeah, so one of these names. So I think that Dallas is they can't sit on their toes. We have to move the money around. So but you're right. 2020 was unchy. Law, you got anything on that?
Well, there was some bright spots in 2020. I mean, Dak Prescott, before the injury, he was going to break every damn record out there as far as offensively speaking. So
on track
the
for like
defense,
6,500.
yeah, he was on track for doing some crazy stuff, man. So I would
watermelon kicks to beat the Falcons and
to beat Dan Quinn, by the way. Did we get him? You know, but out of that coaching staff, who stayed? Like Fossil stayed, and he was pretty good for us, and that's about it, right? You know, of course.
Oh, there's been no holdover from this staff.
No
I think
Lunda.
Well.
And
I think it's just Lunda.
Lunda.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Brian Schottenheimer, if you count him. Yeah, I mean, if you count Schotty.
Yeah. Okay.
So what about
let's
Jason
get
Witten? How would you guys felt if they had Jason Witten in that? What Schottenheimer was?
Oh, this is a Jerry operation. This is a Jerry operation. Yeah, I wouldn't be drinking no Kool-Aid.
Hey, John, what's the storyline? What is Ken Dorsey is going to be actually doing here,
Like
and as well as
be like a passing game coordinator type thing,
Which is,
I mean, ultimately Schottenheimer is going to be the one calling this all, but yeah, I don't think he's going to have like a big say in anything, but it's another guy to bounce ideas off of, and look at, I think the thing I keep going back to is I really like the idea of the offensive coaches that really do watch the stuff that's going on in college and being like, well, obviously we're not doing all of that, but hey, let's bring a couple of those plays in here. Let's try and do some of that stuff because not only does it, I think, keep you on your toes on Sundays, but I think the players really enjoy it. Like, I think that they really, like, even if the play isn't going to them, they like more than, they're more interested in an offense like that. And maybe it's just the player of today, but they're more interested than just, well, I run these 7 routes. This is what I do, and then that's it. Like
the ADHD medication. I like that.
Just for every week to week, being like, hey, I know with our guy, we're gonna have a couple of wrinkles in here, and it's gonna keep things interesting. And I don't know. I just feel like that's where offenses are going to. You look at the top offensive minds in the game.
Yeah.
But then again, there's people that will say, well, look at the new coach in New Orleans. I don't think a lot of people looked at what Kellen Moore did in Philadelphia and go, man, that's such a crazy, innovative offense. He just did the basic stuff, which obviously with those players, it probably had something to do with it too. Like, hey, let's not do anything stupid here.
It is a copycat league. I think that the Saints going to look at it like, okay, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, they're going to try to replicate what the Eagles did. But over to the Cowboys, Steve Shimko, I thought that he was going to be a guy that brings creativity to the table last season, and then he was not even heard of because what he did with Boston College was crazy good. Have you ever got a chance to talk to him and get into his mindset of what he does?
I haven't, but to your point, like what I was saying in terms of bringing the ideas of seeing stuff, I don't know that wasn't happening. The reading between the lines with Jerry, it seems like Brian Schottenheimer did want to try different things, but
McCarthy was trying to down his own shield. I told y'all.
There could have been guys that did bring stuff like that to the table.
AOC has been consistent about that.
They weren't being heard, and so that could be a thing where Brian Schottenheimer might be more open to that stuff. Again, though, that doesn't guarantee you that it's going to be great. You do have to have some kind of identity, but I'd also think with his background, that identity will be that they're going to do everything they can to fix the run game and then build off of that. And frankly, I don't know how you watch that Super Bowl and not think that wasn't the blueprint. And I'm not saying you have to have Saquon Barkley,
right?
And that just takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback with a run game. And I would be stunned if they do not have a better run game next year. Like that would be the biggest swing and miss that they could do.
Yeah, that would be a failure.
I think if you look at 2 coaches that we hired,
right,
the Oregon receivers coach, and the Kansas State O-line OC. I think, John, we'll know right away if we're seeing some college schemes and creativity, especially with Oregon. I think Shotty strategically wanted guys in the college ranks say, hey, what do you think about this if we marry this with this? He said he wanted to get a great coaching staff. He went out and got a great coaching staff.
Thank you, Foots. I'm about to say, y'all ain't paying attention, huh?
Yeah.
Y'all ain't paying. Shotty literally told us. Shawty literally said, I want to be open to guys' ideas. If they have a good play, I want them to be able to come to me. Look at the staff he got on the offensive side. Every one of those guys have offensive coordinator experience. Every one of them have play caller experience. They're 100% going to be trading ideas, bro.
AOC,
100%.
it shouldn't be nothing stale, because when I was looking at Steve Shimko and I was looking at what he was able to do with Zay Flowers, I was like, oh wow, he's going to come over here and do something similar with what's the dude that we got that's 5 foot nothing? Turpin. But I didn't get a chance to see it. But that means that now you remember when we looked at Mike McCarthy, there's a certain body type that the receiver got to be, a certain tight end. Now I got to take all of that and throw it out the way, right? Mm-hmm. Because now if a Tez Johnson is there, I'm sitting here like, hey, he's similar to Zay Flowers. Not saying that he is him, but what's your thoughts on that, Foots, of being able to just being creative?
I said it as soon as they hired him. I said, we'll know right away, because I'm going to tell you, what if he's in the meetings, he's like, hey, that coach will say, you know what, scouts, I love you guys. I'll stand on the table for this kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm at the Senior Bowl. They could not guard him. Nobody. Yeah. There's some good corners. And I've been doing this for 6-7 years. And Law, we've been talking about draft for a while. And
right.
Again, we watched Tank Dell go to the Senior Bowl and do some of the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think scouts and pro scouts and these companies, they put too much into height, weight, speed. And I get it. They'll put out the player card, and it'll have green if he's too light. I mean, if he's a good height or good rep measurement. But sometimes you got to cut the film on and say, hey man, this guy's doing this against a Penn State defense. Hey man, he's doing it against Ohio State. All of these guys are going to be pros. Why can't he do it in the pros? And I think that what you said about Turpin, hey, I love Kevontae Turpin. I really do. I don't know if he's ever going to be a great receiver. I don't know that. Like, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna overrate him and say, oh, we got Kevontae Turpin on our team, we can't draft Tez Johnson.
Then we might lose him.
And if you do, you got to be okay with that.
Because Kevontae wants to be a receiver now. And if you draft Tez, you're essentially saying, because you cannot play Turpin and Tez.
and guess what?
You ain't blocking nobody.
But guess what? If that means you turning a new leaf, then that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, if Tez could come in and be Xavier Worthy to CeeDee Lamb, we got to remember, Tez runs by people. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna be a 4-3 guy, I guarantee it. So that's something to think about. Let's get to these supers, y'all. Okay, 2 O-line, and so Josh Blaze says 2 O-line first round picks in 3 years. Got to draft a weapon and give KA a chance to develop this. Okay, Clayton Adams to develop this. Okay, protection. Protection don't matter if you can't score. So he's kind of agreeing with AOC. What do you guys say to that?
I agree with them because of the fact that I don't care how, going back to what we were just talking about, I don't care how innovative the offense is, you still need playmakers. And I just don't think there's enough on this team right now. And how are you going to get them? So most likely it's going to be early in the draft. And so I think they need at least 2 playmakers, like the guys that aren't on this team right now. And I just don't see, unless they make some big trade that would surprise us, I don't see them doing that unless it's early in the draft. So yeah, no, the offensive line, they're just, I just don't see them doing that early in this class.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything to add to that?
Yeah. Stop, John Long. John Long said, "We got Cooks, man." No, leave it. You might be related to him. You're like, Brandon Cooks, man.
Cooks contract void this season.
Yeah.
Brandon Vegas says, I guess this was to the 2020. It was the COVID season. There was a lockout. They couldn't bring any players in for workouts. Yeah, that's true. I agree, Brandon Vegas, but that was.
You sound like McCarthy. That's McCarthy burner right there.
Just like anything. If he put just like anything in there, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. But just like anything. McCarthy, is that you?
Let's listen to the show, Coach.
We've Jeff Casero says, I think Jay Lewis a must resign. I agree. I agree. That's the one player.
I agree.
You get nothing. Jay Lou can play on the outside. He can play on the inside, and he's that veteran presence. You can't give Jay Lou a bag of money. He's deserved it. He's earned it. He's been a great Cowboy.
And I think he knows Eberflus defense. Do he? right?
Yes.
He was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Even if he wasn't here, that scheme fits what he wants to do. Eberflus, and he plays so much because teams are in the nickel so much. So I would sign him.
Eberflus trust him enough to play him at DB on the outside. Remember? And that was that Devontae Adams game. But oops, go ahead.
He's played. Eberflus has played. Jalen Johnson is not a big corner. Remember, Mike and Dan want tall, bigger corners. Eberflus if you can cover, you can play.
You can play.
Law's been saying, Law, I'll give you this one. Law's been saying double dipping running back. Law, how you feel about double dipping the running back?
Oh yeah, man. You had made a clip of DJ Giddens, right? Yeah. And then you said don't be surprised if he go into finding the Cowboys going to drafting him. And then I looked up his tape and I said, oh my, he would be a good guy. He'd be a good guy on the latter end of the draft there that you can bring in that already knows all of the philosophy in the system. He ran behind Cooper Beebe. He knows the coach. It would be great. And he can catch out of the backfield. Yeah. Look, I know people gave me some hesitations on him on the film, but DJ Giddens, I'm not hyping him up. They gave me some hesitation on him, but I'm not hyping him up. But if he come on the latter round, shoot, he might can do something for us, man.
They did. Law, they came on my line. They was like, "Hey, man, Law talk about some DJ Giddens, man. What you know about him, man?"
Well, I can tell you. Well, time out. People, and we got almost 300 people in here. I could jump in. DJ Giddens is a damn good player.
There you go.
People gotta. He's just not fast.
No, he's fast.
The problem with Giddens is he's going to be like a 4.5, 4.6 guy. And so, but I'll say this. With Giddens, man, I would be perfectly fine with a Genty and Giddens, a Henderson and Giddens. I'm looking at it as I don't know what Rico's future is. Rico's 27. He's 27. What's Rico's future?
It's trying to trade that car in, buddy. Nope. It's trying to trade. It's time to trade that car in. Trying to trade it in, brother.
Yeah, I could see them drafting Genty in the first round though, and that second running back being somebody that they get in the later rounds, or as like they got Rico as an undrafted guy that they just have their eye on or whatever. If they use that one on Genty, I don't see them getting another running back in the first 5 rounds. It might be like a 6th, 7th, maybe
they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yeah. John, he's 6'1", 215. He can catch out of the bill. He kind of run high, but he can catch and he can block, and he finished all of his runs. Giddens, he would lower that shoulder, and he's not going to go out with. Player. I think it proves it. I think he's a good. He just like you said, his speed. And that style of running, only one person, one or two, but he kind of runs, and I'm not calling him Le'Veon Bell, but he kind of runs like that.
No, that's my comp for him.
That's your comp? Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I had a comp but he's just not. Le'Veon was a little bit faster coming out of Michigan State. But, yeah, he's listen, Giddens is smooth, man. Like, he's a good player. People got to understand, with this running back class, there are scouts who have 30 backs that are draftable. 30.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
what happened to Laws? I thought Laws wanted Scatterboo. What happened?
Scatterboo, yeah.
Don't do this. I'll take him late. I'll take him late. Yeah.
I would, if Cam Scatterboo is sitting there in the 5th round, I'd draft him.
I'll draft him.
And that's Hunter Lepke's ass. That would be Hunter Lepke's ass.
You got 3 5th-round picks. I would draft Cam Scat, and I would run. Listen, that dude is attitude, man. I mean, he you know what's gonna hurt him? He not gonna run the 40 at the combine, John, because he is a 4.6 guy too. Like and you know that that's people gonna say he's Peyton Hillis when he run that 4.6. So
I will say this though, my concern with him though is that he has to be good, and the reason I say that is because of what he did in college, the name recognition, with the plus the Dallas Cowboys. You can't be that guy. That's why, I was never interested in the having Colin Kaepernick being the backup quarterback in Dallas or Tim Tebow being the backup quarterback in Dallas, because it's a whole other story.
Right.
And that's fine with Cam Scatterboo if he's playing.
If he's good.
Fine if Tim Tebow's your starter, Colin Kaepernick's your starter. But if they're just another guy on the team, that just does not work well when they're drawing all this attention and everything, and people are looking over why are you guys talking to this guy, and why is this guy that's making all these TikToks or whatever getting all the attention? Let's focus on the guys that are on the field. And so that's the only thing I'll say with him. He'll be fine as long as he plays and contributes. That's the thing.
And he got that Luka type of diet. He gains a lot of weight, and he got to force him scatterboo. I'm for real. The coaches had to say, hey, put that Twinkie down. Scatterboo like the
Get that Ozempic shot, man.
Get that Ozempic scatterboo. But if that's the case, I can see the Cowboys probably triple dipping. They're going to have at least 3 or 4 running backs, not in the draft, but 2 in the draft. And then, after the draft, they do this undrafted stuff. They're going to bring in more and more running backs. And Nate Pete didn't look that bad last year as well. So don't do it. No, sir. Nate Pete looked good at training camp. Ain't the right John?
In with the news.
John got a video of Nate Pete.
John got that video of Nate Pete in training camp. I sure did swiped it. Yeah.
Hey guys. So all right, man. That's it for today. If you guys don't have anything else, thank you guys for the super chats. Cowboys Collective, episode 11, 300 strong. Ain't nobody doing it like this, man. I'm telling you, and it's only going to get bigger and better. So we'll see you guys next week around this same time. And again, Cowboys Collective is growing and it's going to keep going. So much love
indeed.
to you all. You guys got anything else before we go?
I just going to say this. Episode 12, it's the mighty number 12. That's the Starbuck episode. So y'all all tune in. I have a clips of Starback ready for y'all. Come on. Yes, indeed. The last legend of the Cowboys win that 1-2, baby. Come on with it.
All right, much love, y'all.
I told y'all to leave 30 years ago alone, bro. I told y'all to leave it alone.
Well, that's 50, 60 years ago.
We signing out, guys. Peace.
Peace.